A plan that will transform San Diego's transportation system got its first green light today, despite a large crowd of protesters who do not want any more freeways.
No freeways!
There you heard them, community members rallying against SANDAG's $204 billion regional transportation plan that focuses on freeway expansion. The Environmental Health Coalition says the plan ignores community requests about improving transit, biking, and walking infrastructure. Residents say the plan is totally freeway-centric and will create more air pollution and health problems for those who live near the 8 freeway.
This plan basically completely ignores those targets and just continues business as usual. The other problem with it is that San Diego, unlike most, big cities in the U.S., doesn't have a real good public transportation system. And so there are many people who have really long commutes, people who don't have a car who have really long commutes. And we want to make sure that those needs are addressed.
The plan does address public transportation, just not to that group's liking. This afternoon, SANDAG, by the way, did approve that plan.
A San Diego agency has voted unanimously to approve a $204 billion plan to build more freeways and other transportation projects here over the next 35 years. The San Diego Forward Plan, passed by the San Diego Association of Governments, includes funding 160 miles of new freeways and increasing trolley and rail service. Also in the works is a new sky gondola that is expected to increase tourism.
This is a very balanced plan that takes into account the travel needs of the entire region. We are a diverse region with urban communities, more rural communities, more suburban communities. So it's a way to get everybody in the region more choices that are also going to help with economic prosperity and preserve our environment.
But there is some criticism of the plan from environmental groups. They want more emphasis on bike routes, less freeway development, and a lower carbon footprint.
We've turned out hundreds of people to their meetings over the last few years, to board meetings, to committee meetings. We've submitted comments to public, hearings, and they're basically producing the same exact plan. So they're not listening to us that way, and we're hoping that, care for the kids in our lives is something that maybe will make a difference.
Particularly vocal were groups representing people who live south of the 8 freeway. They believe these plans will only increase air pollution.
The controversial $204 billion transportation plan has been approved by SANDAG, much to the chagrin of environmentalists who held a rally outside of today's meeting.
No more freeways, no more expansion of freeways. We want more transit.
They claim the new transportation project is freeway-centric and ignores years of community requests for prioritized improvements to transit, biking, and walking infrastructures. They also say the plan would increase air pollution and prevent cities from meeting the goals of its climate action plan. However, officials say 75% of funding will go towards transit and bicycling strategies.
Well, we're really excited to be here after 4 years of lots of input. Our board has heard from all sorts of stakeholders and community members. We're excited to be here today to move forward on a plan that's balanced for the entire region.
The board of the San Diego Regional Planning Agency voted unanimously to approve this plan. The money will fund transportation projects for the next 35 years.
Protesters and supporters packed a small meeting room downtown today to argue over a big plan that just passed. $200 billion to reshape how all of us get to from here and there in San Diego. It's a brand new transportation plan for our travel future.
New at 5:30, 10 News reporter Jeff Lasky has why opponents say the future is what's being ignored and this plan is stuck in the past.
I'm standing outside the meeting room and there are various groups here trying to put in their 2 cents. There's a union group that's meeting just down the hall there. There's an environmental group standing right behind me on the other side. SANDAG is trying to balance out all those interests. The debate is how well they've been able to do it.
So I want you to go in there today and tell your story as to why we need a better plan.
These protesters are trying to make people realize that the $200 billion plan SANDAG passed today isn't about politics, it's about people. People who are getting asthma and cancer from too much pollution.
Enough pollution, enough investment in our efficient freeway system. We need something better, and we need it now.
They think SANDAG's plan focuses too much on things that are bad for our environmental future, like expanding freeways. SANDAG says that's only one part of the plan, a plan that features mass transit innovations like these hubs that will put trolley lines, bus stops, and bikes all in the same place.
For a region as diverse as ours, there's no one solution. This plan is very diverse and balanced and provides a system that gives people choices.
The plan passed unanimously, with mayors from across the county attending, except for San Diego. 2 city council members voted in place of Mayor Kevin Faulkner. We caught up with him at a dedication at the Veterans Village to ask why, with so much money on the line, he chose not to vote in person.
I think we're working very good. Councilmember Zaff and Councilmember Gloria serve on SANDAG. I think we're working very well together, and that's what's important to me.
What's important to many of the people who protested at the meeting is getting more cars off the road. They say a different plan would help convince people.
But if you say, hey, we have this great transportation system that's going to be just as fast as driving, you can read on your way to work and it's cheaper, people will look at it differently.
They'll have another chance in 4 years when SANDAG votes on its next plan. Downtown, Jeff Lasky, 10 News.
CBS News 8's Ashley Jacobs live downtown where protesters showed up this morning. Ashley.
Hey, good morning, Nichelle and Dan. Those protesters now inside this building as SANDAG board members hear their concerns over this regional transit plan that would increase transportation options and freeways in the region. They're expected to approve that $200 billion plan this afternoon. Well, right now, residents are saying that they don't agree with this plan, and they're particularly from the area that would be greatest impacted from freeway expansion, particularly low-income communities south of I-8, already struggling with some of the highest levels of air pollution in the state. They say they've voiced their concerns for years and are trying again to get SANDAG to listen to their arguments and take their concerns into consideration.
This is going to increase cases of asthma, cases of cancer, increase greenhouse gas emissions that cause climate change, and it's not going to allow the city of San Diego to reach its climate action plan goals.
The Environmental Health Coalition and residents say the freeway-centric plan ignores years of community requests for prioritized improvements to transit, such as biking and walking infrastructure, and increases air pollution. SANDAG, on the other hand, says this freeway expansion is part of a big picture plan for the future, combined with a specific plan for building $204 billion worth of transportation infrastructure.
We're really excited to be here after 4 years of lots of input. Our board has heard from all sorts of stakeholders and community members. We're excited to be here today to move forward on a plan that's balanced for the entire region.
Well, with a price tag of $200 billion, you can bet that plan is huge. But in part, it includes adding 5 new trolley lines, 32 new rapid lines, and hundreds of miles of managed lanes on the freeways for carpooling. The SANDAG board expected to vote this afternoon. We are live downtown. I'll send it back to you.
Good evening. Thanks for joining us. San Diego's Regional Planning Agency voted unanimously today to approve a $200 billion spending plan. But the plan is also controversial, with environmentalists and some elected leaders saying it doesn't spend enough on alternatives to driving. Reporter Claire Tragerser was at the meeting and joins us with more. First, Claire, what is this SANDAG transportation plan?
It's basically a spending plan that outlines how much money will go to different transit projects over the next 35 years. SANDAG is made up of elected officials from all the cities in the county, so they have to come together to decide how to fund projects that will impact the entire region. The plan is updated every 4 years, so today the board voted on the newest version.
And why is it so controversial?
Environmentalists and elected officials like City Councilman David Alvarez say the plan's 50-50 split between public transit and highway spending isn't enough. They say that will contribute too much to greenhouse gas emissions and that the region should be doing more to help create other ways to get around besides driving. Here's Monique Lopez with the Environmental Health Coalition, who told the board she's still affected by asthma and being hit by a car as a child and wants better for future generations.
When we look at the plan, it's a design for our communities. It's not an accident. The plan is much more than the projects that are in there and that aren't in there. It's about the impacts that it will have on people's lives.
All right, but what do San Diego's representatives on the board say?
Well, Mayor Kevin Faulkner wasn't at the meeting because he was at a dedication ceremony. He sent City Councilwoman Lori Zaff instead, and she voted for the plan. Councilman Todd Gloria, who's also on SANDAG's board, says the plan is a good compromise. He says its public transit spending is actually impressive.
This plan dedicates the foreseeable future three-fourths of the funds that are available to transit because it's a marked improvement of the last plan that only gave half of the money to public transit.
Any sense of what will happen next?
Well, SANDAG's previous plan is still held up by a lawsuit from environmental groups who say it doesn't do enough to curb greenhouse gas emissions. So we will now see whether those groups also decide to sue over the current version.
KPBS reporter Claire Trageser, thank you.
Tras un largo día de discusión, la Asociación de Gobiernos de San Diego, SANDAG, finalmente aprobó el plan de transporte para las próximas 3 décadas, pero no todos están muy contentos, que digamos. Vamos con Yaosca Machado, nos dice por qué en vivo desde Kearney Mesa. Yaosca, ¿cuál es la manzana de la discordia? Cuéntanos.
Hola Claudia, muy buenas tardes. Efectivamente nos encontramos en el área de Kearney Mesa, uno de los tantos vecindarios en nuestro condado que se va a beneficiar de este plan con proyectos como anexo de paradas de autobuses y ampliación en las autopistas. Sin embargo, hay quienes dicen que esto solamente va a traer más contaminación y enfermedades respiratorias. Con grandes cartelones reposando en sus piernas, miembros de la coalición ambiental esperaron sentados su turno de hablar ante la mesa directiva de la Asociación de Gobiernos de San Diego, SANDAG, para que hicieran cambios en el plan de transporte de los próximos 35 años.
Expansión de freeways resulta en más enfermedad, más problemas de salud, especialmente en nuestras comunidades que son donde quieren poner ahorita más carriles en los freeways.
Según la coalición, el plan de SANDAG solamente aumenta el calentamiento global y contaminación. Sin embargo, la comisión de SANDAG asegura que el plan, el cual es actualizado cada 4 años, cumple con los lineamientos estatales para reducir el efecto invernadero.
Carriles para carpools y carriles que pueden ser utilizados por los servicios de transporte rápido para que no estén atascados en el congestionamiento.
Es una solución temporal que dura por un ratito, pero después de eso el tráfico sigue igual.
Tras escuchar testimonios en contra y a favor por largas horas, a eso de las 2 de la tarde finalmente votaron de manera unánime y aprobaron el plan que promete creación y expansión de carreteras, paradas de transporte público, vías del tren y carriles para ciclistas, entre otras cosas.
Es un plan de una inversión de más de $200 mil millones y incluye la mitad de sus fondos para transporte público. Tenemos proyectos a corto plazo que se van a estar implementando.
Este sindicato de trabajadores de la construcción celebró la decisión.
Tenemos una cantidad de casi de 3,000 trabajadores en nuestro local y eso generaría mucho trabajo para todos nosotros, especialmente para la gente que viene de abajo. Tenemos muchos aprendices que están ellos dispuestos a trabajar.
Algunos de los proyectos incluyen el corredor de autobuses rápidos desde la garita de Otay Mesa hasta el centro de San Diego, así como una nueva línea del trolley desde San Isidro hasta el área de la Universidad UCSD y mejoras en las autopistas 5 y 78.
No pueden parar el crecimiento de lo que es el futuro. El futuro es que gente va a vivir lejos y va a tener que agarrar a camión, trolley o etcétera.
Bueno, y SANDAG nos dice que con este plan los trabajadores tendrán un mejor acceso a sus lugares de empleo. Por otro lado, las compañías van a considerar abrir en otras zonas donde antes no había tantos medios de transporte. Reportando en vivo desde Kearney Mesa, Yaosca Machado, Noticias Univisión San Diego.